how do you deal with young kids, like 4-year-olds, who are lying, especially when usual discipline seems to not work? I'm going to read through these points because I get distracted if I don't. Discipline is a lifestyle issue. When someone says usual discipline seems not to work, the first thing I would do is examine the family culture. Like, does the punishment meet the crime? Because sometimes parents will be lax on something and then be really, really harsh on something else, and it causes an instability or an inconsistency or a problem with what the expectations are. Because spanking is not the end-all be-all. You can do serious damage to somebody's heart if you are disciplining, just using it the wrong way, using spanking the wrong way. And I actually have a video on YouTube that talks about child training, and one of them is how to not discipline, or what is the right way to do that. But also in regards to a family culture and a lifestyle issue, do the parents practice deceit? Do the kids see it going on and they think that, oh, well, this is acceptable? Or maybe the parents are really sarcastic, and so the child is picking up that sarcasm, and so sarcasm is like the opposite of truth, but said in a really passive-aggressive way, kind of. The child might be picking up on some things going on in the parents' lifestyles. The parents might not be necessarily liars, but might lead a double life or just be deceitful. And it says, are the parents lax and then extreme about discipline, causing mixed expectations or fear in the child? I can't point that one out enough. To let a child get by with certain things and then suddenly being frustrated that you as a parent are doing a bad job and it's manifesting itself in the child. And so then you're like, that's it, we're coming down hard. That does more harm than good. Just because you spanked them doesn't mean it got to their tender little heart. Also, is a child very imaginative, and they set forth their imaginations as truth? My daughter Lily, she would make up these crazy worlds and these crazy ideas, and she would just tell you, like, no, this is just the way that it is. And we're like, okay, we're gonna have to try to find a way to let her know that, like, this isn't true, but we understand that it's a game. But she is like adamant, no, there really is a such thing as Goody Binker land, and I am their daughter. And that's just the way that it was. And so she's 4 and she grew out of it. But those type of things, yeah, it's a lie and they're putting it forth as truth, but do they really understand what it is? If that is the case, then I would just be more cautious and try to explain and teach before disciplining. Do they understand the difference between being playful, being sarcastic, being imaginative, and being deceitful? Especially this, I know that 4 seems old when it's your first child, but they're actually still young, and I know they're wicked because we're all wicked. It's just really, really evident in kids. But be slow and try to teach them and set a clear expectation. When you say this, that is not true. And when you are not telling the truth, this is the consequence. And for us, we had very clear consequences and a very clear order of what the discipline would be. And lying had a higher level of discipline, and stealing was even worse, but they knew what it was, and it was consistent, and it was, is the child hiding something or deceiving to avoid trouble or to get their own way? I would start looking at what is the pattern of what they're lying about, and then maybe I would look to say, is the parent attentive to the child's needs, both physically, but also their love needs and affection and nurture? Because sometimes lying can be a form of attention seeking, or sometimes a kid who has a super strong will, it can become a combative relationship with a parent, and there's not enough love and there's not enough time spent with them in a positive manner, so the child doesn't even care if they lie to the parent. They get joy from it, and that can last their whole life. So you have to look at the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Is the child obedient in general? And this just seems to be an issue. Are all of the children in the household obedient in general? Or mostly obedient. Every kid is going to mess up. Every kid's going to try to get their own way. But I would just look at the parenting in general to see the fruits of it. Because lying can just be one manifestation of a larger discipline issue. Time and consistent lifestyle of nurture and admonition, teaching and encouraging. So the final two things. So after I would do all of that investigation to figure out any lifestyle issues that might be causing this behavior or the lack of response to discipline, after I weeded out all of that, if my child still, if I was doing all of the right things and my child still had this problem, I would do two things. I would still continue to spank my child. We did 5 spankings for lying. Please don't send me to jail for spanking, because the Bible says so in this free country. But we would give them 5 spankings for lying, 7 spankings for stealing. And I would just keep doing that. But also, this is the principle of whiners don't get what they want, and liars get the opposite of what they're going for. You have to make it not worth it. Same thing like lazy kids, they get more work. Because whatever you are seeking to gain from lying, it absolutely cannot happen. It cannot benefit you. It's like if you have a cat that's not allowed on the table, but then once or twice or 3 times you do let him on the table, and then you give him some milk out of a bowl. You know what? Every single time that cat's gonna try, and it's gonna get exhausting to you, because you're like, this cat knows it's not allowed on the table, but it keeps trying over and over and over, and it's because it was worth it. That one time that they got what they wanted, it was worth it. So they're gonna keep trying. So make sure that lying is never worth it, that whining is never worth it. Whiners don't get what they want, that laziness gets you extra work. Those are just the natural consequences, in addition to the discipline and chastisement. But love that kid. They're young. There's time. Be so gentle and overly affirmative, because you have 18 years with them. And don't get so hyper stressed about this one thing that can work itself out with time and discipline and diligence on your part.